Good afternoon, everyone. Talent is core to any organization. However, talent crunch is a matter of concern for the businesses and hiring managers as the working and workplace dynamics are ever evolving, which creates a gap in skill demand and supply. Also, the learning gaps which exist in our system leads to unemployability that is applicable as people enter the labor market and hold true for even the people who are existing in the labor market, for the existing labor force as well. The consistent talent gap, which is widening ever passing day, is also impacted by the change in the skill sets. Automation, mechanization, and digitalization has been the catalyst for the ever evolving skill sets. As we emphasize on the skills and the competencies gap, the workplace dynamics and the business objectives too influences the talent strategy. Productivity, soaring hiring cost, and attrition are some of the by outcomes of the talent deficit. As per a recent survey conducted, 54% of the hiring managers expressed concern over lack of availability of talent. 50% of the managers expressed the concern over the rising talent cost. 45% expressed fear of losing their talent to competition, and 50% expressed concern over suboptimal productivity levels. Increase in marketplace competition, soaring talent costs is shrinking the profit margins, which is compelling organizations to view and develop a tighter talent strategy for business continuity and to have a competitive edge. Organizations are investing in sustainable and inclusive talent development and engagement practices to create a rock-solid workforce and workplace culture which is more enabling and productive. Today, we have a diverse panel comprising of industry stalwarts who are managing large workforce by implementing best talent management practices to attract, develop, nurture, and engage talent through some innovative practices. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Venkatanarayanan, who's a CHRO for the RANE Group, Mr. Sudeep, who's a CHRO for Volvo, Eicher Commercial Vehicle Limited, Mr. Sriram, Head HR BankBazaar.com, and Mr. Ashok, Executive Vice President and CHRO Bluestar Limited. Together, they bring a collective experience of over 100 years in designing and implementing talent strategies. Thank you all of you for joining us today and willing to share your experience, opinion, and the best practices with us. With that, I'd like to begin with my first question to all of you is that what are the kind of concerns and challenges that your organization faces while with regards to talent, and how are you addressing the same, considering that all of you come from a different background? I think your thoughts will really be valuable to understand, are there any commonalities with regard to talent, or does it vary from industry to industry? So over to anybody can kind of start.
Yeah, so I can start. The couple of challenges which comes to my mind is, of course, retention. As the market has opened up, everybody is expanding. So retaining people is one. Number two is even attracting, because people are having multiple offers, and so attracting is the second thing. And third is, I suppose, in this changing times, how do we have, how do we build capability? I suppose these are the top three challenges, particularly I face in Bluestar. And so what have we done is basically for attracting talent, we have done a couple of things. So on the culture side, on the employer branding side, so we have something which is called as real people, real stories, wherein we talk to employees and they speak about their experience, those who have been with the company for a long period of time, 10 years, 20 years, and make them speak as to why they are there and what are the value systems they believe in. So this is got very good traction in attracting. So this is one of the branding exercise. Apart from that, we have social page. We have a page in LinkedIn, Life at Bluestar, career progression social media presence is there, and even on the onboarding side, we have something HR bot, which we give it to the prospective employees after the offer is given, and we start engaging with them even before the person joins, because to ensure the decline of ratios come down. So these are few things which we have done, and I'm sure you're going to learn from my panelists as well. On the development side, this is the traditional was to basically build from within. Okay, I think now no more it makes sense when we can't have it only one strategy. So the strategy is now to also buy talent, borrow talent, as well as develop talent. So all the three combined. So that's how you will see people work as consultants, part-time, full-time. And that also brings to the fore that there are 3-4 generations. I was jokingly telling somebody, the son, the father, the grandfather, all are there in terms of ages. So that also brings in a challenge. How do we ensure that all these 3-4 generations work together? And so that is also a challenge which we are working on. The third one about with respect to retention. So in retention, again, we look at health, well-being, R&R, engaging with the employees. These are some of the things which flexibility. The millennials, they look at, so despite being a little old, traditional, Bluestar is an 80-year-old company. But despite that, we have got into many innovative and contemporary policies, which is on the theme of flexibility, giving flexibility, not really looking at number of hours of working, but looking at the output of work that is being done on a weekly, monthly basis. So these are some of the things, Sumit, which...
But Mr. Ashok, recently, I think one of the factors which is also helpful in engaging and develop the talent is also the job role, right? What's the kind of learning as an organization the job role is there to offer to an individual? I think it's only once that learning ceases to exist and when somebody starts looking at an alternative options for them. Is your organization also kind of focuses on adding value to the individuals in terms of the learning curve?
Absolutely. So we have a totally integrated a learning management system. We have something which is 24/7 LMS, which is available on their phone and mobile and laptops as well. And there are various competency-based programs are there. We have 2 academies, an academy for technical and functional excellence, which focuses on those areas. The other academy is there for management and development, academy for leadership development. So through that, there are various programs, something called as first time manager, aspire program, a senior manager program, which are all competency based as to how they can progress, do better in the current roles, as well as get ready for the higher level roles. So definitely capability building is a big thing for us.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mr. Venkatanarayanan, what are your thoughts on this?
So nice hearing Ashok. And the 3-4 things. One is, there's frequent uncertainty in the demand-supply equation for both white-collar and blue-collar workforce, because we are heavily dependent on the blue-collar numbers as well. Suppose we have around 20,000 people in all our 25 factories. A whole lot of them are blue-collar workforce, and including a good number of migrant workforce. So they work, they move all over, and there's a lot of, this population is always in a state of flux. So that is one area where a lot of our attention goes in terms of a talent supply engine and a training engine and an exit engine that runs parallelly to make sure that that balance is maintained. Second is in terms of entry-level talent, their time to competence, those whom we hire from the campuses. So we have kind of done a major rehash of the entire entry-level hiring strategy of ours. So what we do now is that we hire these people through a pre-selection and an immersive internship program. So in the last year of engineering, most of our people are engineers, and a good number of management graduates and accountants join, chartered accountants. But we give an opportunity for them to come in 6 months before and do an internship. There are several institutions and universities which have so structured the final year that the students get, the selected students, we pre-select them. They go through our entire selection process, the written test, GD, interview, etc. And there are two things that check, and our retention becomes much better when we go through this process. One is the passion for manufacturing is demonstrated, and so we end up getting more people beginning their career as graduate engineer trainees who are passionate about manufacturing after having worked for 3 months or 4 months or 6 months and even 9 months, both at the UG and PG level. They sign up with us only if they like what they do. They know pretty well that most part of the factory is not air conditioned like in a mall or in an IT company, etc. They need to know. So that is one thing that comes out. So I'm just somewhere along the line, I'm also sharing with you the challenges and what is it that we are doing to overcome that. And this is work in progress. We just started and we are tasting some success. There's onboarding quality has improved, and there are possibilities of retention is higher and better. And third, of course, is the overall org structure itself. Recently, we've been going through certain, realignment processes within. And when we drew up the org structure, it looked very different from how it would have looked about 25 years or 35 years back when I began my career, and maybe 15 years back and today. Today, there was just one thick line and people in boxes. And then there were some slightly matrixed structures which had, you had thick lines and thin lines and dotted lines and other things. Now, today, it is a combination of those thick and thin lines, plus a whole lot of external partners. You have independent consultants, you have organizations, even someone like a TeamLease comes in somewhere, something like a McKinsey comes in somewhere, something like a Deloitte comes in somewhere. And there is this several, like for example, IMTMA, which is our NTTF, they come in somewhere. So all of these people come in my org structure, and therefore the competencies of some of these people who work also are different. They no longer have to work with those who are directly reporting into them. It's more of a collaborative and collective leadership competencies which are required in them. And hence, you need to redesign the leadership development programs also to address developing and building in these competencies from within. So that's one. And the fourth point is around wellness. There's a lot of work which has gone on in the last few years. And the entire the wellness paradigm within the organization has transformed completely to doing a lot of work around everything other than physical wellness, because physical wellness and insurance has always been there. But today there's a lot of requirements that have come up to, let's say, in the area of financial wellness. Now I'm really working with 3-4 people and structuring a financial planning program for a whole lot of people within the organization. It's a very new development and a new realization. And financial planning, again, doesn't mean somebody coming and peddling certain insurance products. We make it very clear that these are not product and solutions peddlers, but somebody who will the fee-paying financial planners who will be independent and who really educate them in terms of how to draw up a plan, keeping their requirements, goals, retirement, everything in mind. So these are some of the high-level themes, Sumit, that I have to share with you.
I think that's fantastic stuff coming from your side, Mr. Venkatanarayanan. Sudeep, what about you? I think there's a lot of similarities in terms of the manpower when it comes to the two organizations, the RANE and yours, the very labor-intensive organization. Not that it doesn't happen in Bluestar as well, but I think of the automotive sector, I think, so what's your take?
So Sudeep is my customer, so I think.
Yeah. No. We call us, you are my business partner, not us. We believe in that the new era of leadership is the partnering and collaboration. We believe on that.
You're right. You're right.
Not a vendor or not a customer. We are partnering with you, and that is yeah. Thank you, Sumit. I think contest is well set, and I would like to touch upon few points. Like our talent management philosophy is very clear. We are building the talent rather than fishing the talent, and we have a good success story. And in my management team, we call executive management team, chaired by our managing director and all CXOs. And out of 14, 10 are joined as a management trainee or GET or as a commercial trainee. My managing director himself has joined as a commercial trainee after passing out of his chartered accountancy, and he's the managing director since last 10 years. And that way, all my sales head, all my strategy head, digital officer, they all joined as a management trainee. This is our basic talent philosophy, that we are building the talent rather than fishing the talent. At the same time, we stop recruiting any senior manager and above. Maybe very few we recruit and senior manager and above. We build the talent within the organization. We give opportunity to all our internal talent, and every year we recruit more than 200 graduate, postgraduate. We are not recruiting graduate engineer because retention of the graduate engineer is a big challenge. This hardly less than 3 years they go for either higher study or for MBAs also, because that is a big challenge what we had faced, and we changed our strategy. We recruit MTech from all IITs and MBAs from good institute, and then we build this talent for our future leadership. And that way, we have a very good success story. And now my retention, earlier it was almost, attrition was 30% on the young talent. Now it has reduced to the 10% because we have changed our strategy. And now it's a clear-cut road, plan for their career. If they join today, and where they will reach within 5 years, because they cannot look more than 5 years or more than 3 years. We have to give a very clear-cut roadmap. Today you are as a management training. After 6 months you will be deputy manager. After that there will be so many roles available for you. And at the same time, we have a advantage that Volvo Group is our joint venture partner. We set up an exchange program, and this exchange program, we send our all at least 20 to 30 engineers every year to the Volvo Group different plant to give them exposure. What is going there across the world? What is the new technology which is coming up? Currently more than 30 engineers are working in Volvo location on electromobility, flex fuel, and all hydrogen technology, because now entire automotive industry is shifting towards the green energy. And currently we are working on the 5 concurrent technology, our CNG, then our LNG, hydrogen with ICE engine, electromobility. This is a complete shift the technology in the auto industry. And this is the one way we are engaging all our young talent on the different technological exposure, and they are very happy and every time we have an interaction with all young talent, my MD, my all CXO, they meet them, they understand their career aspirations, and we try to meet their career aspiration as far as possible. Second thing, when we build the talent, and I was just looking to my company's average age is hardly 33 years. We have more than 4,000 white-collar officers, and 33 years is a very young organization. And managing the multi-generation employee, we have Gen Z, Gen Y, and Gen X, and few baby boomers also. Then we designed a program how to handle this, Gen Z generation, meeting their aspiration, because the span of attention is very less. We have to give them regular challenges. We have to recognize their good work. We designed a program to how to handle the multi-generation employee, and all my leadership team has to undergo that program in ISD. It's It's a mandatory program for all the managers to how to handle, how to meet the aspiration of the young generation, so that we can increase their retention in the organization. So these are the few things I think restore mental wellness or employee well-being, which is we learned from the COVID how we need to take care of our employee during time of distress. This is one of the good thing. I think Venkat has raised the right thing that how we have to give a right kind of input on the financial planning. I think this is one of the very, very important, and we conduct several workshops on how to plan their retirement plan, their making their goals in their life in next 10 years, next 5 years. What are the things that they need to invest? Because there are so many insurance schemes, there are so many things available in the market. How to guide them in the right direction? I think this is very, very important aspect, because otherwise, everyone look for the very short-term return. Today, if I put money, tomorrow it should be double. This is practically not possible. They have to put money in the right fund or right investment planning. This is very important aspect that we are also working on the same area. And most importantly, building talent for the future technology. As I said, the technology is changing very fast. And we need to build that competence for the future technology to meet the customer requirements. Tomorrow, I don't know when you buy a new car, it may be the electromobility, it may be the hydrogen with the IC engine, or it may be the CNG, where it will the future is completely uncertain. And the technological change is happening now. From 1st of April, for OBD2, which is being implemented, the new norms for all commercial vehicle and passenger car. There are new things which is happening, and we need to build those talent. That is a great challenge. Today, all our vehicles are connected vehicle. 100% vehicles are connected vehicle. Give them a right kind of input on the digitalization. How we have to connect with the customer and connect with the customer need in case of any how to use their breakdown time. So these are the few challenges we are facing, and we are building those talents.
It's fantastic. Mr. Sriram, what about you? I think you come from a very different industry considering the rest of the three panelists who kind of represent the manufacturing. So what are the challenges that you are facing in terms of talent, and how are you addressing them?
Interestingly, right, after hearing all of them, I think the problems are, irrespective of the industry, seems to be the same. Like Mr. Venkatanarayanan said, manpower planning is a real challenge. We are deeply integrated to the business plan, both horizontally, vertically. But as the business plan remains dynamic, it's difficult to adjust the manpower plans because a lot of things are fixed. So that's a challenge. But having said, right, so what we are adopting is a long-term strategy. We have put the whole organization in a 3-box, the talent organization into 3-box. We call it as a creator, solver, and steady. Creators are those who are involved in creating new products, new business lines, new segments. And the solvers are those who work on the efficiency of the existing. And the steady are those who are into the repeatable job. While the entire structure operates, the sourcing differs for each blocks. The remunerations are different for each blocks. And for example, for a assignment which is very repeatable, we probably like to outsource as much as possible, so that that becomes easier for them to come into the organization. The impact is less, and then they can graduate. And the talent mobility also is from steady to solver to creator. So there is an aspiration to move forward. So now this is what we are trying to create, right? And we have some benchmarks identified internally. How much should our wage bill should be towards your creators? How much should be towards your solvers? Ideally, an organization, we wanted to be capable people who are capable of creating new, because that is what is happening in the new economy, right? You start as something, you pivot to something, then you end up in a different thing. We need creators, therefore they can continue to create and they can continue to adopt, right? So it's a very different from a conventional planning. The core remains the same, but we are adopting to this, right? Therefore, we source the creators predominantly from a tier 1 institutions. right? And the solvers are predominantly experienced in something, steady, SOP driven, right? And that is the type of profile. And then we have the repeaters whom we try to graduate, outsource most of it. That's the intention. And those who are stars in that tend to move to the solvers, and then from there to creators, and that is the training plan, right? That runs parallelly along with them. So this is something what we are trying, because we are constantly have to be on the vigil to how to engage a new gen, right? So I heard Sudeep saying 33. We probably average will be about 25. So it's a different, but the core is the same. The core is the same, people are the same, but you have to approach them differently, keeping the business vision in mind. The new age organizations keep changing. The product lines keep changing, the geos keep changing, the entire verticals keep changing in a very lightning speed, right? So we wanted to have this large creative workforce. When I say creators, that means they are capable enough in imagining and doing something very different, totally different, in a different paradigm from what they are doing now. They should be capable of pivoting to a new thing very quickly. And that is what we wanted to expand and keep reducing the workforce which are into repeatable jobs. This is broader what we are trying to do.
But Mr. Sriram, I'm sure you are, as an industry, you also face a lot of attrition as well.
Yes.
So how are you kind of addressing that part? Because that again would impact the productivity and of course direct business as well.
Interestingly, for BankBazaar, the attrition is largely in the repeat bucket, okay, or the repeatable job bucket. So we also have targets for each bucket, because we cannot afford to lose people on the other buckets. So, but it doesn't, see, at no point of time I'm saying that category of people are not required. No, definitely that's a workforce which keeps the engine running. So we need those. So we adopt different strategies. We demonstrate that if they do well, they can move to the next bucket. Now, we also partner with institutions like TeamLease, bring them in advance, 6 months in advance, make them undergo the training, look at the floor, look at how things happen, energize them and move forward, right? So as I said, the average age group is so less, especially that particular group, which is on the fairly in an iterative mode, either they go for higher education or they get into something else. And there's a big percentage of people who are trying something new on their own. There's a first time in my third-year career, I'm seeing a big percentage of people who want to do something on their own. And I tracked their exits. After 6 months, we do analytics on it, where they have landed. Significant percentage of them are trying to do something on their own basis. Small or big. It could be, starting a shop at their hometown to something big, or going to some other place.
There's an entrepreneurial mindset that people are.
It's all a mindset. So the traditional retention strategies won't work. So you have to clearly show them a career right in your organization from day one and make them believe and demonstrate it. You should have samples which they can witness, interact and realize, right? So you have to work with it. So that's the only way, right? I mean, that's what we are trying to do.
So I think one thing is coming out very common from all of you is that how do you, if you were to look at, definitely you are trying to build, focus is on build as well, wherever it is essential. But obviously, as you mentioned, whether it's the borrowing part of it or, buying part of it, that continues to happen for those essential, job roles which are there. But at the same time, you're investing a lot, not just in their professional development, but also in their personal well-being as well, to ensure that there's a sense of belongingness that comes in and there is engagement which continues with them. That's fantastic stuff, to hear from all of you. Coming to Mr. Venkatanarayanan, we'd just like to hear from you on our next question, which is what are the factors that an organization needs to be cognizant of while framing their talent strategies?
Sumit, one of the important things is in any company, the talent strategy is so designed to accomplish the business goals and to kind of implement the business plans, both in the short term and long term, which could be 1, 3 or 5 years. So it's important to have a very clear understanding and comprehension of where the business is moving. And, today the CHROs have a seat at the table in terms of being part of the executive leadership team. And therefore, to really comprehend the business roadmap. For one of anything else, if you will, I'll use the term the business landscape. So where are we going? Now, that will again be governed by one is technology. Sudeep did mention about it quite a bit, and everyone mentioned. So there's going to be very disruptive changes in the technology front. For example, today we are about 93% EV compliant in terms of our portfolio, which was not so much some time back. So we brought it up to about 93%. So one is, so therefore technology. Second is around the emerging trends and preferences of the end customers, and therefore the technology change in companies like Volvo, Eicher and others, the Marutis of the world. So therefore it's around our customers. Next thing is around people. So these are two aspects which we need to kind of very closely integrate and develop a talent strategy. So it may mean identifying and building leaders. And second is the evolving org structures, which we talked about. No, not everything needs to be within the company. Today, if you will, we have a forum of the component manufacturing companies. We have forum of the OEMs. And we all collaborate. The competing companies sometimes collaborate on best practice sharing and making sure that we exchange data and information largely to build stronger organizations. So again, component manufacturers is there, and sometimes a group of component manufacturers and the OEMs, we all come together and discuss in joint forums on how do we coexist, and the collective capacity, like what Sudeep said, we are all partners in progress and partners in business. While competing at one dimension in one way, we are collaborating also with each other in many different ways. So I think the business, the HR, the talent strategy of the future will closely be linked to the business plan. Second is today there are, while I've had several cases of people growing up to become CEOs who have joined as management trainees and graduate engineer trainees. There are far and few in between these days. Suddenly you now hear that today there is a change in the CEO of TCS. It was announced, and there are. Then I was reflecting on the CEOs of IT companies. Except I think one or two, most IT companies are hiring more people from outside. Tech Mahindra, someone else is going from Infosys to head. So therefore, if you will, these are people who are going without the organizational memory in them. They're going to a new place, and it's as drastic as heat of mess. Of course, the selection process would have ensured a whole lot of factors and assessments to making sure that you have a culture fit, you have this fit, X fit, Y fit, etc. But I think there's a lot of changes. So lateral hiring into organizations is as much as 30 to 40% from my experience, including for our own. We invest heavily in building talent, which is aligned with all of these things. But nevertheless, we have to hire from outside as well. And we report to the board. So I think some of these eventualities are there. And like what Sudeep also mentioned, a lot of people today, it's not like, sequentially you study in school, then study in college, then you work and retire and go. No. Now, after you start your career, most people known to me make a change after 2 or 3 years. And a lot of parents are now in touch with me to find that their son has joined here, their son, daughter, and 18 months, 24 months, they're so restless, they want to change. For two things, there is a peer pressure, and therefore they want to go and do some higher studies somewhere, mostly a management degree if they're engineers. And if not, they want to go and work in some field. Somebody is working in today's morning's case was a person who was working in SAP ABAP. He wants to go into data analytics because he has done a certification course somewhere. And he wants, so I did connect him with the CEO locally of a large analytics company known to me. I said, you please go and explore. But I think he's with a large IT company. 18 months doesn't look as good as 3 years. At least you spend 3 years. And after all, SAP, ABAP, if you're very good, you'll have great career. But he's a little restless. So we have, while we do, immersive internship hiring, etc., we there are two paths. Some of these people leave us and go for various reasons, and some of them we need to kind of internally give them opportunities to do some further studies. Either full-time or part-time opportunities are there, sponsorship, golden handcuffing and retaining them. So it's a mixture of various dimensions that go into talent strategy. Like it's like it's more like a formulation of Coca-Cola. Like many things goes in, and then finally nobody knows what goes in. Finally, you get the Coke and drink, and there's a lot of people come as brand ambassadors for Coca-Cola, the Salman Khans and Naamir Khans and all that. So therefore, the talent strategy to a large extent has also become like one of the formulations. The ingredients mixing and cooking it is a lot of art and some science also, but quite a bit of it is an art. So I think it's something else.
But you did mention about in the beginning that you need to have a 1-3-5. Do you think today, with the kind of the way the changes are the dynamics changes so quickly, 5-year is a right period, or do you think that thing?
I think so. Therefore, it is a playbook and not a rule book. So it gives you the deviation. You have to be very agile and nimble to be able to change at short notice. That changing at short notice should also be part of that 3 or 5-year plan. Even 1 year, anything can change. But the idea is, we as human beings, the biological clock of ours works very differently than sometimes, it's different ingredients combined to bring about changes. Suddenly, so many banks collapsed last week. As one never thought that those banks will collapse. And so, I accept the uncertainty. Like I said, one of the biggest challenges is the uncertainty will remain. And therefore, how do you balance this equation? The solution is to be very nimble and agile as much as possible in this kind of a time. But I agree with you. I will take it with a pinch of salt. It's at least a playbook, directionally right. So,
got it. Mr. Ashok, your views. So what are the factors in organization should keep in mind?
So Mr. Venkatanarayanan mentioned, the talent strategy has to be completely aligned with the organization long-term goals, definitely. So whether it is 3 years or 5 years, so no questions about that. Apart from that, there are trends. What are the so I can say macro and micro. At macro level, there are trends which we know with respect to digitalization, decarbonization, demographics, the pandemic itself, right? Government policies, global trends. So that's at a macro level, and each lines of business they will. So as Bluestar, it is not we have various businesses, typically 4 different businesses, which is something is on consumer durables, something on projects, something on customer service, and something on B2B business. So these 4 behave very differently, and they will have a different roadmap. So definitely the talent strategy will revolve around those. And at a micro level, of course, including having a very, very compelling vision. How do you fit, like Mr. Narayan said. So cultural fit is extremely important. And it's very, very difficult to retain people 1 year, 2 year. So gone are those days. It is that linear, step by step. It is jumping. They want to try, and so it's very, very, very unpredictable in that sense. And at a micro level, of course, the agility part is important. The adaptability part is important. Sometime back, you mentioned about the learning capability or mindset, learning mindset. I think companies which will learn faster than anybody else will be the competitive advantages. It will be for that organization. So the learning ability of the candidate makes a huge difference because of this unpredictability of where we are in. I suppose these are some of my thoughts, Sumit.
Sure, sir. What about you, Mr. Sudeep? What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think I will put it in 3 buckets. First, overall business scenario, how the business scenario will move in next 3 to 5 years, and then what are the technological changes which is going to be happening. And the fourth is what is the customer expectations and how to meet the customer expectation. These are three broad things which that will drive my talent management strategy. First, when we should have a clear-cut roadmap. Today, we are maybe around 20,000 crore company. Tomorrow, in next 3 years, we are planning to have a 60,000 crore with the volume increase, maybe 150, more than 100,000 vehicles, commercial vehicles. So that way, I have to build my talent management strategy to meet the basic requirement of my growth strategy. First, second thing, what are the technological shift which is going to be happening next to 3 to 5 years, and what are the customer expectation which we need to meet. These are the three buckets we identify, and then we have made our complete talent management strategy, and from on the same philosophy, build, buy, and borrow, where we need to build the talent, where we need to borrow the talent, and how we need to buy this talent. It's a see what happened when we had some attrition. Every organization has going through the same phases. We have a attrition maybe 15 to 20% in most of the industry last 2 years post-COVID, and this year also it is, as per the SAM prediction, is going to around 70 to 80% OEM, and I think component business is around 15 to 18%. And what is happening when we lose talent? We try to replace. Okay, then it's like we are giving a painkiller. Okay, you're suffering, you take a painkiller, but we have to build a talent that can be for my future growth, for my future potential of the business, that within the vitamin for the organization. Painkiller for the immediate relief, vitamin for the future future need of the organization. And at the same time, you have to build the talent. That is you have to build the immunity in the organization through the young talents. They should be in your pipeline. They should be in your bench strength. So this is our clear, very crisp, talent management philosophy.
Fantastic. Mr. Sriram, what about your inputs on the fact that organizations should
be the industry, I mean, there's no long term from a planning perspective. Though we have business plans for 3 years, but I think it's, as I said in the first summary of mine, it's very difficult to keep up the pace of changes there. So what we have is a talent strategy, but not a hard plan. The talent strategy is to get as many people who can integrate with the organization and can remain very creative. In our business, we need especially the tech engineers who can roll out a totally different product line altogether, right? Without any pressure. So that is what drives us, right? Now the important point to note, what's HR role in this is to reduce anxiety in the entire workforce. It may look very different, but let me express this. There are two levels of anxiety. One is there is significant shift in the pivoting in the business, both directionally, product lines, right? So what we do today, tomorrow could be totally irrelevant. So that's one anxiety level which builds in. And the second is like what Mr. Venkat pointed out. A good SAP guy never feels that he's anxious. He's not sure whether his skill set is relevant for tomorrow. So he wants to go into data analytics, right? So how do we maintain the anxiety of global changes which is influencing the individual, right? And the point is these guys know they are very good, but they don't want to be left out. So interestingly, this is what I tell my team in HR. Look, our job is to ensure these guys are not stressed and stay creative, right? It may look very different, but this is what is my strategy is. Planning is different. Planning is very much aligned to the business. As I said, I have 3 blocks. I know how many percentage of creative team members I need in engineering, how much I need in marketing. It's a percentage which we have worked out. How much we need as a problem solvers, and that is applicable in everything, including HR. And the repeat jobs, any of goes to TeamLease and others. So that's fine with me. That works as an engine. But how are we going to strategize in such a way this constant? So some layoff in the US definitely impacts my workforce here, right? I mean, I am more for me, I would say, than probably the other panel members, because they get very anxious what is happening there, because that was their dream, joining, as I call, the Googles of the world. But Google and Meta is going to lay off, right? The FANG companies. Now their point is, what is this world, right? That anxiety creeps in. And interestingly, so this is what I'm predicting for the entire, at least the tech workforce globally, right? India has not seen it yet. I have daily interactions in the US. The market there is very bad, right? Very bad and very anxious. So what's happening is, because of that, it'll percolate to Indian tech workforce, and it is very important for the HR professionals to handle that anxiety, right? Added to various other challenges, including ongoing war is not helping, the scenario is not helping. There is a lot of uncertainties. Wipro is not onboarding people whom they have offered. Otherwise, they should have onboarded in July. So there is so much of, I don't want to name a company, but there are many. There's so much of uncertainties, and what's happening is net the workforce is anxious, right? And it affects their bonding with the company, right? It affects so many things. Broader, even in the society, there are impact. So best, what HR, I would say, my strategy, written down strategy for my company is make employees focus on creative work, reduce strategy, let them stay productive. That is what it is. That's where our focus is.
Great. So I think, we've heard about OODA loop, which is used in the military warfare. How do you kind of orient yourself quickly, which talks about you observe, orient, decide and act. And I think that's what is coming out from all of you, that while you may have a long-term plan, but in order to kind of, if there are any uncertainties or anything that's come in between, I think how do you implement that OODA loop so that you are actually on the course of achieving your business goals? I think my last question to all of you, and if we can just summarize this quickly, is that what are the trendsetters going to be for 2023 in terms of the talent strategy? So Sudeep, maybe we can start with you on this front here.
I think trendset would be, how to manage the talent, with the new technology, and how to build this talent to cope up, to handle the technological changes, and how to engage, with this young generation employee to meeting their expectation. That would be, I think, would be a great challenge for all of us. And engaging with them and building the right competencies. I think day before yesterday, I was addressing to all my new joinees. They are about to join the next month, but I was addressing about our culture, about our values, and during their question answer session, they asked only one thing. What kind of learning environment I will get in Volvo Eicher. They were not talking about anything. They were more focused towards the learning environment. How you promote the learning culture in the organization. I think this is the one thing which most of the organization will face this challenge, and how we have to engage with the young talent would be a great challenge.
Great. Mr. Sriram, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I believe this year is going to be we say this every year, but this year, let me say this with some confidence, it'll be going to be a turbulent year.
I thought every year is a turbulent.
Every year we say, but this year I think, I'm a lot more sure it's going to be, because there's a lot of news is coming, including the bank. No one thought of Credit Suisse. I worked for a Credit Suisse firm in the past, so I know. We used to say the paintings in their office used to call, is going to be in millions, Okay, and that's just going to be there. So I work for so I know, but today you can't even imagine, right? So it is going to have a serious cascading impact. So it is going to therefore have a, I think we are only at the start, and I don't want to be a doomsayer, but the fact is the good HR guy is one who anticipates and start working on it. We will have a tight manpower plan. We probably will ensure, as I said, we'll protect all our employees and ensure that they grow. That is what I think the single largest focus we will have, and work very closely, like others mentioned, which is the case, 3 block cases for every team I have. Work very closely and have some goals on each of this. So there's a time to study them and move forward. So that's the thing. So this year, every organization I think will focus 80% of the time on their people, is my prediction. We started the year with TCS CEO's unexpected exit. He had a 5-year extension last year, right? I think we thought COVID's impact will go away in 1 year. I think physical is gone. The mental and the fatigue and purpose of what all is now coming in front of people. And we saw so many things happening. The impact of moonlighting, silent leaving. All those are actually an indication for a larger workforce change happening globally. It is going to happen. I think we are only the tip of it. It is going to change. Deloitte this year predicted it's going to be a borderless workforce. I don't know how many of you know, many IT companies, startup companies used to have Ukraine-based people doing their web pages, till the war started. When the war started, many people told me I had my web developer in Ukraine. So that's how it used to be. And I think it will go borderless. We have moved to gig employees, big workforce. That is going to morph into something else. So it's going to, and the HR is actually going to be thick of this. And no one can deny HR's role during the COVID time, right? I think, while the CEOs were in front of the camera, but the entire workforce management in that period, how much to work from office, how much not to work, where to work, all that was handled by. So the HR is going to play a lot more pivot role. 80% of the time, the C-Star's time will go only on people this year. And this year is going to be very interesting. Large scale talent landscape is going to change big time. Those are my predictions. With that in mind, we are working.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Sriram. Mr. Venkat, your
A great question. So maybe I think you should ask for every quarter, not a full year. So I think what Sriram said did resonate with me. I'd also noted down that point. It's going to be a fairly turbulent year, but I'm sure that we'll navigate it, and then maybe we will not crash. We will land safely. I mean, as we have handled several such challenges in the past. So I think Indian economy is very strong, and I'm not sure if it's completely decoupled, because we are at one level we are getting connected more, at another level people say the economy is getting decoupled. So while all that is on one side, it's going to be a little turbulent, but I think we have learned our ways right from the pandemic time to now how to rise to the occasion and handle such challenges. So one important thing will be a lot more of digital transformation that's going to come our way. Now, it's not digital versus human in this or that. It is both digital and being humane. I think this has to go hand in hand. And in such times of uncertainty and turbulence, or all those Tina, Bina, and Buka, everything people say, I think investing in building a culture and anchor ourselves around the culture is very important. So there's going to be a lot of investment in culture building and building talent, and a lot about demonstrating our culture, giving people a sense of confidence and comfort. So I strongly believe that this is the time when culture has to be in the front. And we
do you also think, sir, that the organization will also have to build in a very resilient culture?
Absolutely. It has to. You should know how to bounce back very quickly. So therefore, very resilient. Another name for that I was coming to is very generative, self-generative kind of a thing. So GPT will now become a generative people transformation. Chat GPT, I'm just referring to that. It's no longer a generative pre-trained transformer and large numbers, large sentences or volumes. So I think the GPT is now acquiring a new meaning. It's about being generative. People transformation. I think that GPT acquires a new meaning here. All that I have to share, and thank you.
Venkat, I think RANE is going to get into IT in a big way. The way you are saying, new technology is catching up with you.
Thank you. But I was head of IT also till recently. So I headed IT for about 10 years and just passed it on to someone else. So it's been a very interesting stint. And I mean, that's out of my hobby, though I never really began my career or any strong association with IT. I came around to heading the IT function for my company for 10 years from 2012. But thank you so much. Thank you for the generous comments.
Mr. Ashok.
Yeah, so I completely agree with both Sudeep, Sriram and Venkat. So I will try to tell something different. Being in a manufacturing setup, I think there would be, even despite expansion and growth and all that, I think there will be pressures on margins, and hence there will be a focus on productivity, both blue as well as white. By the way, earlier whatever we said, even blue collars, it implies. So I have a factory which is pretty new with 20-year-old people, and they are not bothered. They want to just like that. They leave within months, despite getting trained. They are not really worried about the money part. So it is there both in blue and white. So I think I didn't mention that. I thought I should mention. So there will be focus on productivity. And as a country, we are, far behind in terms of productivity norms compared to the biggies like Chinese and Koreans. So I think that in a way it will help us become much more competitive in the larger global scale. And I think some of my panelists mentioned there will be a pursuit for non-traditional candidates, recruitments. With respect to the talent pipeline, I think we will be looking at that as well. And gig working, we already spoke. And I suppose I don't know about this new wage code. If that comes in again, that is also going to bring in a lot of turmoil. Then, of course, we already spoke about digital transformation, and it is not only this or that; it is both digital and human. And since talent scarcity will be there will be continuous upskilling, skilling, development. That I think that these are the things which will continue.
Yeah. Sure. Thank you. So I think with that we end with our conversation here. I think 1 hour was too little to extract your best practices and your thoughts and opinions of collective of 100 years that's available on this platform right now. I hope we do get to engage more with you, pick your brains more on such trends and all that stuff. But thank you so much for taking time for this particular session. I know some of you are very busy. I think you're on vacation and you have a session tomorrow. So thank you so much once again, and I really look forward to more conversations with you in the future.
Thank you, Sumit and Sudeep, Sriram, Ashok, Rajesh, everyone. I think it's been a very useful exchange of thoughts amongst us. Great learning, and one level some new insights, and another level comfort that all of us are in the same boat. And so I'm sure that we will survive this time as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Sriram, I think brought in a lot of different. I think I should catch up with you, Sriram.
Always.
So always like to catch up with you, Sudeep. So thank you, Sudeep.
Catch up sometime. Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you, Sudeep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.